I have to tell you guys, we do sometimes what we call, we like to do the career interview. I love to do the career interview with, and this would be with people like Sonny Rollins, who's been here, or Leonard Cohen, or um, uh,
Who's huge
Tony,
in Norway, by the
Tony
way.
Bennett.
Leonard Cohen, you know, as you probably know,
You know,
being a Canadian, I mean, we love
He's
Leonard
very
Cohen.
big.
He's,
but these
very
guys
amazing.
are octogenarians, guys in their 70s. But we do the career interview with you because you're deciding to come off the road. So on that note, take me back. Now, if I have the story correct, Paul and Mags, you guys have known each other since you were 10 years old. Is that right?
Roughly
10?
12.
So here's my question, because I love the story of you wooing Morton to come into the company. When did you know? If you can take me back, when did you know that it was you three, that Morton was in and this was going to be the band, and have a sense of the chemistry that was aha?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Well, how about I ask you first, Morton?
All right, well, you probably have, we have pretty much
No,
the
because
same
I
story,
think I knew before they did. I heard the guys play as the Bridges. There were four-member band.
The Doors were taken, so we got the Bridges.
And they were playing at my school. There was some sort of
Like a high school?
arrangement. Yeah,
Or-
high school, yeah. And I was completely struck. Totally, I had never expected to hear something like that in Norway. I knew that I was going to do this, but I didn't know through what. I mean, what would deliver it in a sense, and I didn't at all think it would come out of Norway. So I kind of knew that I would have to leave Norway for that to happen. And then I hear this band on stage, and I'm thinking that this is incredible. And the only thing they
In fairness, we weren't really incredible. We were, but we were.
musically it was magic.
But then you played hard to get, right?
No, I didn't play hard to get.
Didn't you?
You just have to follow the natural.
Come on, you play hard to get.
The natural course. I knew I would have to be chosen. So in a sense, I knew that I couldn't. It wasn't right for me to go up and invite myself. But I knew that the only thing that was lacking in this magic chemistry was me. And that's where it stopped for me, in a sense. But I did think.
What's wrong with this picture?
I did.
It does not mean.
No, I did. It was a
little of me in
divine
it.
revelation.
But so then, when did you know that it didn't have enough Morton in it, Mags? or any,
none of it.
any.
How much
Can
Morton
there
can
ever
we
be
take?
enough Morton in something?
Many have asked that question.
Well, he came over after the show and was very enthusiastic, and one of the few who were that enthusiastic. We thought, better check this out some more. We had a long involuntary, because there was a train that didn't run or a bus that didn't go. We had to walk through the forest for like hours, and we had this long chat, and it got pretty intense, and
Just a chat. There was nothing else
we had
happening in the
heard
forest.
we heard about him because he was kind of locally known to be a guy with an amazing voice, but didn't know anything more than that. And then we sort of met this one time, and we did start talking about the possibility of working together, but it didn't work out because Morten was studying priesthood, if I remember correctly. MF faculty in Norway. Anyway, I wanted to complete his studies before joining us
I'll join you in 7
England.
years, guys.
So we actually left without him. We'd been to see a couple of his shows that he was doing with a local blues band,
Yes.
and kind of checked out. We thought he had an amazing voice, an amazing presence. But we left anyway. We left because we were kind of dead set on going. So we kind of left the idea of making a band with Morten. That was then forgotten about, and we spent a few months in London trying to get bands together in different ways. Finally, just realized this is not going to work. We're going to have to go back and get
Get the priest.
it just get the priest. In Morten's word, it
Did
was
you
meant
become
to
a
be.
priest?
We had to.
No.
Well, it depends how you define it.
Right, right. So, okay. So then you form this band, and this is where the romantic story of rags and riches. I mean, you actually were living in some squalid conditions in the beginning in England, right?
Well, the beginning was we had saved some money coming
He was
over from
pointing
Norway,
down.
so
Pointing
we
downwards.
started okay. We started in a nice little 2-bedroom apartment, you know. So it wasn't too bad, but we sort of, as the money declined and we declined to get support from our parents, we just kind of toughed it out in London and got, you know, into more and more squalid conditions. But I have to say, it was also a case of belief from people around us growing at the time. So there was always good news to keep you going, you know, less and less money, but you still had to stay because there was always the kind of belief that you were going somewhere. So it wasn't really a tough time, I don't think. We quite
I think
enjoyed
it's
it.
actually one of our key sort of elements, because we ended up living in the studio, a demo studio that our manager at that time owned. So, and we can use the studio whenever it wasn't available, which would normally be between 4 in the morning and 10 o'clock next day. So, you know, for those months, we would always just spend the whole day kind of figuring out what we're going to record in those hours. And it sort of laid the groundwork for tons of songs that we could later lean on.
And then you record this first album. I mean, then the trajectory is just straight up. I mean, as fast as it can go. Your first single was "Take on Me," right? And which goes #1 in 27 countries around the world, including America. When did it sink in that you were a globally #1 band? Was there a moment where you kind of
Starting to sink in now. I mean.
right? It's only taken.
For me, it happened when I was about 17.
What does it mean, Morten? You speak in code sometimes.
No, it dawned on me when I was 17 that this was happening.
Forget about the sequentiality of time.
Not just a priest, but a prophet.
That's also important.
You knew that, but Morten, you've always had a confidence.
I felt that. I felt that very, you know, in that particular way where one can
Spiritually.
feel those things. I knew, put it that way, that when I received that phone call from Magna asking me to join them, I knew that was it. It was going to happen now.
Really?
And
This
was the vehicle. And the next moment for me was when we got together and I asked them to hear some things. And the first thing they played to me is the riff for "Take on Me." And I knew that this was it.
Which is the riff? The da 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 da. And what about you, Max? When did you know? Did you also feel it in your bones?
Well, you just said it's sinking in now.
Well, I didn't have quite the sort of prophetic approach to it was more like a complete commitment to it from a very early age. I think I was about 12, 13 that I sort of felt committed to going in the direction of making music as a big part of my life. And it was always a belief that you know, that you couldn't let go. But you know, clearly when the three of us all believe the same thing, that becomes many times stronger than your own belief. You sort of build up this kind of common ground that becomes almost like you know, it becomes his own thing. But I wouldn't say there was one moment. I mean, you know, when we did go to #1, you sort of realized, yeah, I guess it
Not so bad.
not so bad. It did happen. But I mean, you know, you're committed. You believe and you dream that it's going to be your life, and you make it happen through, I guess, a mixture of talent, luck, and hard work.
Paula, I'm almost scared to direct a question at you, but
What have I done now?
but you've described "Take on Me" as before as a gateway drug. Do you know what you meant by that?
I know what I meant by it. Did you? Yeah, I mean, it seemed to be a lot of focus on that song, and for me, it's like the guy with the posters, wearing the posters outside the shop. You know, get in, see the whole collection. You know, it's our first sort of calling card on people. You know, but it's.
Does it bother you that there's so much focus on that song?
No, I mean it's coming from Norway. We didn't have we grabbed every chance we got with two hands, and it wasn't any sort of second guessing. But obviously the learning curve was steep, so we sort of thrown into a situation where we couldn't sort of guide the thing anymore. And you always wonder what it would be like if you have a slower build up and you can kind of mold the thing into your thing. We could have been a totally different band, And on that note, we're sort of releasing our two first albums. Remastered, and also tons of outtakes and tons of demos and tons of songs that hasn't been released before. And it sort of shows the band, which for me is maybe the sort of, even closer to the core of Aha. It sort of shows us the band with his quirky side and his weird sort of meanderings.
But you make a really good point, right? It's sort of the paradox, because on the one hand, you achieved what you would think any artist would want. On your first outing, here you put the song out there and the entire world reacts to it. On the other hand, that kind of unprecedented success on song one, where do you go from there? How do you possibly live up to, for the next 2.5 decades, live up to what you achieve on that first song? Has that been
the thing is, you learn that it is ultimately not anything to do with it's not all about success. It's not all about achieving those things. It's about living with music and being in the fortunate position to live in creativity and create new things and discover things as they happen. So that becomes your life, and if you love that, looking back after 5 years or whatever, then you're good to carry on. If you don't, then you're much better off quitting.
But you're right; it changes the game completely. To have that trajectory, because then you have to choose on the basis of that. Whereas if you have a slow build-up, it is completely different. Something that we, in all fairness, don't really know anything about. I mean, we spent years and years in obscurity. All our youths, during our youth, we spent it in cellars, practicing, rehearsing, writing, making music, thinking music, dreaming music, and then suddenly you find yourself right where most people kind of aim throughout a career to end up, and you have to kind of find your way from there, and there's a million routes to take.
And first and foremost, all of a sudden you are a product.
Yeah.
For the first time in your life, you're a product, and you are a product much more than anything else.
Didn't your prophecy tell
and
you?
No, it didn't.
Right. The 17-year-old.
It was that of a very pure one. And, it was a spiritual guidance.
Also, when you become a product, your relationship as friends, a couple of guys who knew each other since they were 10, they recruit the other guy, has to change. You're all of a sudden, to a certain extent, you're businessmen with each other, right? You're in a business partnership that you never kind of thought you were going to get into when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, which you have to learn to respect, in fact. I mean, you have to do business on business terms and music on music terms.
Has the friendship taken a toll because of that?
The friendship is, I mean, the relationship is in and out of all corners of what you go through. So that's part of it.
It becomes what it is because of it.
It becomes. I'm sorry.
It becomes what it is because of it. I think. I think it does. It's a really difficult position to be in, because not a lot of workplaces in the world are designed so that you're spending time with people you knew growing up. It's very rare that you have that.
And a lot of time.
So it's a sociological. It's a sociological experiment in many ways. So I mean, of course, it changes over time, and it's meant to. It's meant to evolve and grow and change and destruct and get rebuilt, and those are the facts.
You probably know each other too well, to a certain extent, like siblings, right? At this point, probably know all the good and bad sides of each one of you.
Too well is always a question of balance. So.
Jesus, Morten, you're killing us.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
He's speaking in tongues now.